Internships are so critical and important. Something that stays with you forever. She cannot work on the same level as the guy, and Pakistani women have to have hijab. Put it at my work, the same discipline, I'll get somewhere. I had this burning desire to do something for the country. My art is very important to me. I get back to it with a vengeance. You can share those experiences without being condescending, but your attitude is your attitude. My childhood was spent in Lahore, absolutely, the Convent of Jesus of Mary, and I think I am kind of the byproduct of that era, that time, that period. But that at a very, very young age, my father moved to Dubai, so that was too long back. Will give my age away if I say when. But yeah, I think in 1974, that's when Abu decided that he wants to make Dubai his home. Nobody had heard about this place at that time in Pakistan. Nobody knew where it even existed. And every time somebody asked where he's moving, they said, oh, it's somewhere near Saudi Arabia, because people could relate to that. And so yeah, since then Dubai became our home, and we were just from a very ordinary middle class family, trying to make ends meet, and there was nothing here. UAE was just a sandpit. There was absolutely nothing. There were no schools even. So early schooling was almost at home, then through British Council. And then a small Pakistani school opened here in Sharjah. So that's where my sister and I were enrolled. So every day we would be driven by our father to Sharjah. So those were the early days. And so much so that there were no colleges or universities even. So at the age of 14, 15, our mother decided that we need to study O-levels privately through British Council, but we still need to go out and do something. So we started doing our internship in travel and tourism in a small travel agency that belonged to my father's friend in Sharjah. And that's where the bug of travel caught up with me, and to this day I'm suffering from it. And I remember that in that travel agency they didn't even have space for us to sit. So we used to sit on the staircase, and they would hand us these big ATPs, which were like these massive, like telephone directory kind of books, where you had ticketing, fare, rules and regulations, and we would sit with those ATPs on our lap and study through those, and that is how it all started for. I talk in we because my sister was also part of it, but it was also new for us, and for girls who are not really taking proper schooling, it was escapism as well. And it was a way to connect, it was a way to get out. And little did I know that you can carve a career out of it, but it was just the focus. And even at that point, I remember being very focused and diligent, that whatever you take on, you do it right. And we were so focused on learning and understanding that what this is all about. It really opened a whole vista of world for us. Saira went on to then join formally British Caledonian. I went on to join Olympic Airways, the Greek airline. So at the age of 16, I was traveling to Athens. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I was going to Athens for all my training. And, and so it was really glamorous for a 16-year-old traveling all the way to Greece to get her training. So I think the bug of travel caught on to us really, really hard and strong. But also we learned about communication, we learned about the world, we learned about, tolerance, acceptance, different cultures. So it was a very, very important period in my life. I think if it is something that interests the child, For sure, for sure. I've had my children get into internships that they've not enjoyed. Okay, so it's also important for parents to understand where they're interested. We were always creative. We always were very people. Loving sort of girls, you know, we enjoyed other people's company. So it just all came very naturally to us, and there was a huge learning in it. So we felt that we are studying. You know, we didn't feel the gap that we are not really going to school. So it kind of filled that gap for us as well. But internships are so critical and important. You do learn, and they stay with you. Even if you don't go into the same career, there is something that stays with you forever, you know, from there. And so it's essential to weigh in what internship you are getting into, for sure. I just remember having lots of fun with it, because we came from a not a conservative, but we were in a very strict environment. You know, the parents were very protective about their twin girls, and Dubai was a village at that time. It literally, there were 2 stores that you could go to, and the tailor was next door, the chai wala was next to your building, and sabzi wala. You know, it was a very simple life. So it was really leaving the village and venturing into a bigger world. And so, both Saira and myself, my sister, were very lucky, because through that journey of ours, we always had very good mentors. And I think mentors are very important, very critical to have, who really believed in us. They were just fascinated by this fact that here are these twin girls, they are so young and they want to learn. How is it that we can help them get there and make a difference in their life? So all along we had different mentors who were taking us. It was like a baton, you know, we were being passed from one to another. And yeah, so I think that defined my journey and the confidence that it gave us. So all of that was happening. You know, from the airline to travel business, it was doing well. Marriage happened, like any of us Pakistani girls would at that time, and I moved to Pakistan. And I was a young bride, just barely 20. And Karachi was a different ball game altogether. It was from a very simple life. We were plunged into the socialite lifestyle of Pakistan. And there I couldn't work. I couldn't carry on with my travel and tourism business. So there was a huge gap. I got into having children and all, but that I had that entrepreneurial bug inside me. I had to do something. So I actually started designing leather handbags and shoes. Okay, and so I set up a small unit. I didn't even know, and this is something I want to share, that I didn't even know what this business is all about. We didn't have internet in those days. We didn't have, so I was completely self-taught. I learned through books and catalogs and all that. How do you cut a shoe? What it takes to create a cast? How a bag mold is designed and all through catalog. And I didn't even know, I thought I'm getting into leather business, but I didn't know the difference between leather or Rexine or real leather, you know. I had no clue. So I go and buy my first roll of leather, thinking I'm buying leather, but it was actually Rexine that you use for car seats. Okay, I had no clue what I'm buying. And I thought, I didn't even know that the leather is cut in an animal shape. The real leather skin is this thing. I thought I'll just go and pick up this roll and that's leather. But through trial and error, we didn't have money, we didn't have funds, we sold our, but I had a believing husband and he wanted to motivate me. So he sold his car to help me buy that first roll of leather, or fake leather. And so I did that for a long time, but did it with a passion, because creativity was, it was always about designing something. So even when I was in travel and tourism, early was designing packages and tours for a client. So it was always about designing or composing or putting something together or creating, you know, whether it was a journey, and then from that journey to leather handbags and shoes, it was designing leather handbags and shoes. Set up a small unit at home, and then it grew to about 40 people working there, and it was beautiful. But then, as luck would have it, a few years down, with 3 kids in tow, 3 little gremlins, very, very young babies, boys, we decided that we are going to come back to Dubai. So when I came back, it was very tough. We were financially it was a very difficult period for us. My husband didn't have work, I didn't have work. We had to share homes with family members, and with 3 children, you had to put the bread on the table. So that's where I ended up doing 2 to 3 jobs at the same time, working in 2 full-time in different travel agencies, some part-time. And that was a very, very difficult period, 4 or 5 years. But we just simply had to do it. We had to make ends meet, put children through school, still sharing home, till I got a break with Emirates Airline, And during that time, I did jobs that ended up setting up my own little agency as well. Twice I did that. But in that whole process, Emirates discovered me, and every year I was changing. I was trying different things, and my thing was, just keep trying. Something will stick, or somebody will notice you. Just keep going, just keep going. I was so focused on getting somewhere that, because I was a young mom, a lot of time at work, I didn't even tell people that I have children, 3 little children at home, because I didn't want people to think that I'm weak in any way as a woman, that I can compete on the same level as men. So don't talk about kids. Today is a different world, right? We are so free to talk about so many things, but in those days, you couldn't, if you were judged upon, you were, about that whole Me Too movement and all of that. I relate to that because I went through all of that. Everywhere you go, you're exploited, and as a woman, and so I had to overcome a lot of those hurdles, like to be able to prove to myself, to anybody else, that I want to be in it professionally for the right reasons. For many years, I never ever spoke about my children at work or to anybody about my children, because it was perceived as a sign of weakness. Oh, because she's mother of 3 little kids, she can't grow, or she cannot work on the same level as the guys can. That was a very difficult time, very, very difficult time, balancing home. But then I used to tell myself, if I can balance this, I can balance a family, and then I can get out and just pretend that it's just me, and take all that learning of that balancing, that act that I have to do at home, and put it at my work, the same discipline, I'll get somewhere. That was a simple philosophy that I lived by in those early days. And it kind of worked. It kind of worked and served me really well, because if you can balance family, you can deal with anything, and anything, the work challenges that are thrown at you. Emirates was huge. You leave Emirates, but Emirates never leaves you, because it's such an organization that it's like joining an institution, And when I joined, Emirates was still a fairly new airline. They just had 15,000, 20,000 odd staff. And they had just started PIA leasing aircrafts from PIA. So those were also Emirates' early days. So I joined Emirates to set up their DMC, which was the Arabian Adventures, and never looked back from there, because it gave us so many opportunities to define and redefine. But being there for nearly 10 years, then I have started feeling stagnated, because that whole urge to create and to build, and so I'm a builder. That's what I do. I'm all about structures. I build teams. So I felt kind of suffocated towards the end, that I'm not being able to build something new. So that bug then took over again, and then I left Emirates to form a conference organizing company under a Swiss brand in UAE, opened offices, a startup office in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in South Africa, Turkey, India, and in Canada, 7 countries. So that was another decade-long journey, and today all of those offices exist, and there are teams which are thriving there. Very proud of them. I'm in touch with every one of them, and that was an entrepreneurial, because it was a partnership. I learned so much in the process, to be able to sit on a Swiss board for a Pakistani Muslim woman, to sit on a company, a Swiss company, which wants to launch itself on the stock exchange and all. That was a big deal. But I was there, I learned the power of marginalization, because you basically, the acceptance that it's a Pakistani Muslim woman sitting on that board did not go very well with some of them. But this time around, it was not the men, it was the women. Wow, okay. And you have other European board members who are saying, who is she and why is she here? Those women, why do we have her even here? Because for them, they had certain notion that Pakistani women have to have hijab, have to be covered, and very stereotypical notions. So to fight all of that, and to stand up to all of that with dignity and with grace, and strongly represent and be successful, and show them through success, through your actions, through your hard work, your commitment, your dedication. There are things that we as Pakistani women can do, I think nobody else can do. I really believe. And one of them is hospitality. So I won all of them over through hospitality. It's by opening my home, heart, They don't know how to do that. So I said, okay, I'll show you another side of how we do things, No. I didn't, but you embrace, right? You embrace the good things. You embrace the discipline. The Swiss are very disciplined people. If you are 1 minute late for a meeting, I've had the chairman there actually get up and leave the meetings, because he said, you did not show respect towards me. So time management became very critical and important, and showing that strength of discipline. So to this day, I'm always 5 minutes before. Like today, I had to come. I was sitting outside in the car for 20 minutes, because I'd hate to be late for anything. So you learn those things and you embrace those things, but at the same time, you keep your core. That's important. Yes, and I'm so blessed for that part of my life. I think if I look back, I think that will be my legacy. And I was in Canada. I got headhunted for this role, to go for Imran Khan's government to set up a task force for tourism, which I did. I did the whole strategy, for them. Actually, again, it didn't happen openly, just straightforward. You know that, right? I knew that Pakistan needs help with tourism. All my research was telling me. I was in Canada, and I had this burning desire to do something for the country. And I was approaching so many people that get me there, tell me how I can do that. And so many doors were opening and shutting on me. But I kept at it. And I think in the end, the stars got aligned. I spoke to you, you spoke to your dad, but at the same time, I was speaking to somebody in World Bank as well. So one day I get a call from World Bank that, hey, we need this, and somebody to come in and do this study for us, to create a tourism task force. And I think that always need mentors or angels, and you were there at that time, and it was a beautiful time in my life because I was in Canada. I had just become a grandmother, and I had to call my husband that I'm coming to pack my suitcase in Dubai. And he said, what do you mean pack your suitcase? You're coming to Dubai. What do you mean pack your suitcase? Then I'm going to Pakistan. And he said, are you mad? What's wrong with you? I said, no, I'm going because I've been called and I want to go and work. It's only a 3 weeks task, and then I'm back. I was there for over 9 months because that one thing led to another, and I ended up then writing. And it's such an honor for me, Pakistan's first national strategy for tourism. Okay. And in that process, I learned so much about the country, about its potential, and how it is the best kept secret in tourism. Political will, I think, what needs to really happen, because people are there. We cannot teach Pakistani tourism industry how to do tourism. They know better than so many others, okay? And I was shocked to discover that I, as overseas Pakistani, I don't have to go and teach them anything about tourism. They know. They are 3rd generation, 4th generation operators there, and tourism is in their veins, it's in their blood. What we need to do is help facilitate that and create an environment that it can thrive without any threat, and with consistency. Consistency is so important. And what they are today thriving on is the domestic tourism, which is great, okay? But domestic tourism does not bring the FDI to the country, right? So what the tourism can be is a catalyst of change, it can be a magnet to attract foreign direct investment into the country. It can be the quickest, the low-hanging fruit. And that means hotel investments. That means other international tour operators paying attention to Pakistan. That means, OTAs like Booking.com or Airbnb and all of these platforms taking the country seriously and expanding on its potential. Because the local market is there, the local operators are there, but they need huge exposure. They are like thirsty for exposure. I'll tell you something. When I was there, people would come and grab me. Oh, you are from overseas. You get tourism. Can you do something for us? Can you get the word out for us? How do we do it? So the know-how of how to do it is what I worked upon. My work was built upon. So the Pakistan tourism strategy was all about how to get the word out, which trade shows they need to be part of, how to take it to the market, how to engage those customers that Pakistan is looking for, which platforms they need to be on. So all of those factors, that's what Pakistan needs today. I was fortunate. I got to visit most of it, but the place which really I want to visit again, and like it catches my heart when I think about it, is this little place I stayed in Kalam, okay? And it is so beautiful there. You have grapes growing from the trees. It's like going to Tuscany in Italy, It's जहाँ झरनों की आवाज़ आ रही है, पानी, आप अपनी खिड़की खोलते हैं तो you can hear you can see the abshars just outside your window, and that's a place I want to visit again. I do have, and it's a little resort, Walnut Resort, and just 20 beds, run by a couple, very private home. And Pakistan has many those kind of gems, Look, look, ambassador is the word, right? Ambassador is the key to it. Do you remember that time when our parents used to travel and everybody would be suited, booted? You know, nobody would be in this riff-raff jeans and sneakers or shorts and all of that. I think Pakistanis need to display and exude that. They need to showcase that there's another side to our country. And the etiquettes of traveling, the manners of traveling are so essential. Yeah, but, you know, I don't know how that can be taught, but it only comes through education and further exposure. But how we conduct ourselves, not just as Pakistanis, but even from, you know, I'm very cognizant of that when, as Muslims living here in this part of the world, when we go to North America, there's a certain way of conducting ourselves. We should, you know, we need to carry ourselves differently so that nobody is pointing fingers towards us negatively. So it's an innate thing. It's a conscious thing that we need to do, but it needs to happen because our reputation sadly precedes us. You know, that's the unfortunate factor. I'm first an artist than anything else. But what happens is everybody kind of forgets that, and we talk about tourism more. But my art is very important to me. I paint, I exhibit, I've owned an art gallery, and I'm working on a mega show at the moment, you know, so watch the space for that one. It's coming, and it's a very important part of me. It is what centers me. I think it's kind of is, but I can go in my life with long spells of not painting, you know. Sometimes they can run over years. But what happens is that every time when I do start painting again, because I can sometimes get an artist's block kind of a thing. And but when I get back to it, I get back to it with a vengeance. And I paint very fast. So I can paint for a year, but produce work which is worth 10 years, you know, because I paint quick, fast, because my ideas and thoughts are coming very fast in my head. So I need to put them on the canvas very quickly. I'm very impatient. I'm an impatient artist, you know, and it comes through in my paintings as well, because there's so much conversation going on in my head. It's like somebody, you know, writing a book, and if they don't get up in the middle of the night and scribble on, they will lose those thoughts. So my art is a little bit like that, and my inspiration comes from words. Okay, so I actually think of the title of a painting before the painting. Okay, so I can get inspired by a phrase, a word, or some, you know, and then ideas start flowing around it. And I love to lately in my work, a lot of it is about women, but lately it's been a lot about environment as well, you know, where it's headed. And so one of my last exhibitions, I did something like 18 paintings, and then I left them out in the sun for over a month, you know, because I wanted them to become part of the environment and absorb the environment, the heat, the dust, the sandstorms, the rain, everything into the canvases. So I'll do those kind of crazy things with my art. They are all my babies, right? So sometimes it's what you are working upon that becomes important. But there is a painting that I've done in Canada, actually. It's still there. I've not been able to bring it back with me. I miss that painting. And it's very close to my heart because it's because all about COVID and the separation, because I was separated from my family here for almost a year, and I was stuck in Canada. So it's the painting is titled "The Home Is Where Your Heart Is," and yeah, so that painting is very, very close to me. It's not about involved, it's about engaging. It's, you can be involved, but in a negative way. But if you engage your children and just be there for them, they engage you after some time, right? So it's not me engaging them, it's them. They see you as that glue that is holding everything together. But it's that early investment. So my misfortune was, because of my travels, I missed out a lot on my children. I missed out on their birthdays and important dates, school meetings, parent-teacher meetings, all the important things, stuff that a child needs growing up. I was a lot of time missing, MIA. So my husband was there, but I was MIA. But what I did focus on was the quality of the time. The time that I did have with them had to be constructive. And I think it's all very cliche. It's about, how do you be the role model? How do you do? You just do your stuff. Yeah. And you do your stuff and you lead by example. The children saw a hard-working, focused mother. And that's what they radiated towards. Right? So my boys and my daughter now, they consult you, they talk to you, they engage with you because they know that you've been through a lot, and you've seen a lot, you've experienced a lot, and you can share those experiences without being condescending, right? Those learnings and all of this. So they are like your friends then, best friends. No, I didn't have the guilt. I didn't have the guilt because I knew I was working too hard to provide a lifestyle to my children. It was all about working hard to meet the challenges, the bills, life was not easy, and to make sure that everything happens for them. I remember that we moved from sharing a home with the family to moving into our first one-bedroom apartment, and it was just one bedroom. But I had 3 boys, okay? So what do? We didn't have a bedroom. My husband and I, we didn't have a bedroom. That one bedroom became the children's bedroom. We would pull out the sofa at night in the living area and sleep on that. So, when you go through that, and you provide for the children in that level. And then when I joined Emirates, suddenly you have a home and everything is being paid for and all, big lifestyle change and all of that. So I have to tell you this story. Okay, so I think my boys probably remember this. This is where the connections happen. So life was doing well. Suddenly we are in Emirates, and the kids are in a very good grand school, being dropped by the driver and the chauffeur, and so life has changed completely. I bought in Arabian Ranches a house, but just before we move there, I bundled the boys. The oldest perhaps was about 14 at that time, then a 12-year-old and 9-year-old, and all. I put them in the car, and I said, I need to take you somewhere. And they said, where are you taking us? So drove all the way to that one-bedroom studio apartment building where we used to live 6, 7, 8 years before. And I said, and they were making fun of me, where's mom taking us? But then they became very quiet as we approached the building. And then brought them in the lobby of the building and went upstairs where our floor was. And I said, I don't ever, ever, ever want you to forget where you guys started, where we started. Just because you're going to be soon moving to Arabian Ranches, you need to remember how we started and how we struggled. And they became so quiet about it. And I know it stayed with them, that humbleness and that groundedness. And I saw your question, and there was one question in there that what sort of people I would hire, what quality I'm looking for, right? So I'm all about young people and hiring young people and mentoring them and bringing them on board and giving them a pathway. It's all about giving them a pathway. But you can give them 100 pathways, but if they don't have the right attitude, okay, that winning attitude, then you can show them 100 pathways and it will fail, right? So it's really, really all about your attitude. So my advice is if you have nothing, you have no experience, you have no learning, everything can be learned. Everything can be learned. Experience can be learned. But your attitude is your attitude. And that's the only thing you need to bring to a workplace and a work situation or any situation. Your attitude will lead you, will open doors for you. You have the wrong attitude, you will suck at everything. I'm right where I started off in the beginning in DMC world, what I did with Emirates. So I've come a full circle and I'm back to doing what I did 25, 30 years ago for Emirates, is destination management business, whereby we sell the destination, and the destination in this case is UAE and the periphery, the region, okay? And we promote it for conferences, for events, and yeah, so I'm a MICE specialist, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. So that's what we do. I think we are so fortunate to be in this part of the world. This country has given us so many opportunities, and you know, if you play your cards right, you know, you can go far. And take those learnings, everything that we are doing here, try to give it back to Pakistan in some form or shape. Just don't hold it back, you know. And I think we are all here for a reason, but we should not forget from where we all come. This is really, really important. And I always say, do the zakat of giving back to your country this way. Through your learning, through your development, through businesses, create jobs, impact lives. You know, it's really, really important. I learned it very late in my life that it's important, but it came to me. But if it comes to somebody early on, wonderful.